This is my last Altoids tin shrine for a while, and I've got it pretty far along, so let me talk about what's going on up here. So I decided to go ahead and keep these ribbons as the way it's suspended because I like the way they frame the skulls up on top. I think that's a nice presentation. I'm thinking about adding some charms at the ends of this and wrapping them with some embroidery floss. The stuff that's inside the shrine, I had a tough time with this one, coming up with the right combination of stuff, and I still have one or two more things that I want to add. But the usual assortment of bottles with colorful things in them. I have this little book, which I may or may not glue in here permanently. It's possible that I might decide to run a piece of twine through the spine of the book and allow it to come out and be written in, so that the eventual owner of this could add little bits to this magic book. I'm not sure. I think I'm waiting to decide on that, to get everything else glued in place and then get it up on the wall and see if it tends to fall out or not. I also added a ball of red string, which red thread or red string is a thing in some spell casting. So I always like to add a little ball of it to shrines that are about magic. And a cinnamon stick because I wanted something overtly natural in this. And I tried like seed pods and stuff like that. And eventually it ended up being cinnamon. I have a horrible empty spot right here and another horrible empty spot right here. And I think those might get filled with packets of something tied with string, and maybe also a charm. I'm not sure yet. I have some other things that I want to put in this, but like I said, I'm kind of struggling with the right combination of stuff. Because I want it to remain colorful, but also a little bit magical. The bottom section, I just added a little skull bead. I did some marker work around the outside to turn it into more of a sugar skull than a scary skull. And I carried the paper flowers that he did on these skulls up here down into the bottom. And this is the only tin where I didn't use a glossy finish. I just didn't feel like it added anything, and everything else is pretty much sort of matte and natural. There's not a lot of shine going on except for the gold glitter that I used around the outside and also in the centers of all the flowers. So I'm keeping the glitter down to a minimum. And then down on the bottom, I played with a lot of different things and I decided to go with this, which I think is going to hang from the back side of the tin like that. And this is, for those who are familiar with Mexican culture, the cut paper banners that are used in a lot of the festivities, especially around Dia de los Muertos. So I kind of faked it with some cardstock so that it would hold up a little bit better than usually it's made from tissue paper. So, and the other thing I want to do is I have this necklace hanging on my wall, and I kind of played with the idea of hanging charms. I don't know if it's going to be from chain or from ribbon or embroidery floss, but there are these hanging tabs on either side that are holding the ribbon, and I thought it might be fun to hang some charms down the sides of this. So I'm still sort of playing with that. But this is getting closer to being done. I've sort of solved most of the problems that I had with it. I just need to do one or two more things, and then this will be done. Here's the finished shrine. I'll show you it up on the wall in just a minute. I went ahead and added a sun charm over here, and there's some folded papers with a little message in behind the book, which I opted not to make removable because it was just too awkward. And this is a little packet of sunflower seeds from a sunflower I grew in my garden. I like to put little pieces of goodness from my real life into shrines. And I also ended up hanging some charms from either side, which you can see better once this is up on the wall. So this is, in terms of stories, this is probably the most complex one that I've done. My original one-word description of the story was magic, which did end up in the finished shrine, but along the way I added some words. So obviously, because of the artwork I chose, there had to be some sort of Dia de los Muertos inspiration to the magic I described. And then I would say color is a word that would describe this and would be part of my story. So in terms of storytelling, I think what I have to say here is that as the piece evolves, I'm constantly adding words to my story to make it clear in my mind what it is that I'm trying to say. So magic was my first word. And so I sort of wanted to give a sort of magical feel to the whole shrine. And then Dia de los Muertos. So everything needed to come from that sort of world, which is probably why color moved into it so quickly, because that's a very colorful celebration. So not limiting myself to just the one thought, just magic, made this shrine, I think, more visually interesting, because I have a lot of stuff going on in here. And I think that when you see it hanging on the wall, you would get the whole story, that you would say, oh, this is magical. And oh, look, it's inspired by Dia de los Muertos, and also it's very colorful. So let your stories evolve as you progress, but don't get too far off the beaten track. I introduced a couple of natural elements, but didn't want to get too far down that road, because things that are natural tend to be kind of earth toned, and I didn't want to introduce too many earth tones into my colorful shrine. And here's the finished shrine as it hangs on the wall.